So in about 6 months, this should be approaching that 9,000-ish level or so. And this trend line would basically be a retrace to the long-term trend line of Bitcoin going back to really before the 2017 cycle. So this gives us another technical reason why you could easily see a chart, pullback in Bitcoin down to that level to form that bottom. Is you can see that this was the start of your FTX collapse. We kind of chopped here. We started to break down. You held this low, which short term is a positive, and we've bounced up. The one little, and this is very short-term analysis right now. We'll get into the longer term. What you can see is you're basically just back to this kind of down-sloping trend line. So this is your short-term resistance. Now, if we get rid of that line and we go to a larger time frame, what I've been saying is, all right, so 5 to 6 months out, bottom on Bitcoin, and then ultimately 45% lower. Well, where does that put us? Well, let's take a look here and see if there's some other technical factors that match for that level. And what you could see is if you go back to 2017 before the run up, the bull market run in late 2017, and you put a trend line here, then connect it through the bear market lows of 2018 and 19, the trend line perfectly matches the COVID lows. And look at where we are. We're basically getting back to about 8,000 now. So in about 6 months, this should be approaching that 9,000-ish level or so. And this trend line would basically be a retrace to the long-term trend line of Bitcoin going back to really before the 2017 cycle. So this gives us another technical reason why you could easily see a chart, pullback in Bitcoin down to that level to form that bottom. There's another one little thing here on the charts. Take this high, connect it through these highs right here, and look at that trend line. It also comes right there to that same level. So for me, I'm a trader for 20 years. Bitcoin may not get down to 9,000, and I fully understand that. But for me, in my risk assessment, how I kind of allocate money, I have to be prepared for it to go down that low. So what have I done? Well, I've basically started to accumulate a HODL position on Bitcoin. I put 100K in Bitcoin already in this general vicinity. And what I've decided to do is every 3,000 down, I'll just put another 100K in. And I'm just going to be very robotic about that so that if Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin only goes to 12,000, at least I have some exposure if it starts to rip higher. If it goes down to 9,000, or let's say, hopefully not, but 6,000, I'll just continue to dollar cost average. That's the way that I want most investors to think about it, because it's too hard, even for me, to pick an exact bottom. I mean, that's like a 1 in a million thing. Like, yes, I called the top at 69,000, but in all fairness, I was calling it at around 65. So I wasn't exactly dead on. But again, that's that same sort of thing that you get close, you might not get exact. We're close to the bottom. Don't get discouraged by these big bearish headlines that come out. That's part of a market that is bottoming. So as you get more bearish sentiment out there, as people freak out more, try to separate yourself from that emotion and look at the facts. Is Bitcoin still a viable investment? Is the thesis still there? The answer is yes. In fact, once we get regulation, I truly believe you will have a ton of big money coming in. So you just now are looking and saying, okay, well, how do I carefully dip my toe in the water as it goes lower where I can withstand prices? Like if you're in at 13,000, can you deal with it being at $9,000 or even 3,000 or 5,000? I think the bottom line is I still expect some downside on Ethereum, but there are some levels that I'm watching. So let's take a quick look at the chart here and see what we have. So what we can see is Ethereum on the positive side, it still hasn't taken out the June lows. So just looking at relative strength between Bitcoin and Ethereum, you would actually say Ethereum is stronger than Bitcoin because of that fact. Bitcoin's obviously pierced the the June 2022 lows. We haven't seen that on Ethereum. Having said that, if Bitcoin does continue lower, then you have to think Ethereum eventually will get dragged down. One of the key trend lines I'm watching on Ethereum is this one. Now look at how perfectly it matches to these highs, this high, and this high. So as long as we stay below that trend line, that's going to be a level that you have to be a little concerned about, that it's going to continue to push Ethereum lower. Basically, you have the low from June at around 885, 890. That's a level to watch. If you break that level, Ethereum has really no major support until it gets down to about $650. Now at 650, I start buying quite a bit of Ethereum. I won't buy everything, but I will start to basically dollar cost average in pretty aggressively down there, with maybe the potential that it could get down to the lower levels around 400 or so. But I remain long-term extremely bullish on Ethereum. I don't think even being a security really changes much for Ethereum, other than that their transparency will have to increase substantially, which I think is a great thing anyways. And so again, I think, yes, you're looking at some more downside, but the end is in sight on the charts.
So assuming we do go lower, the most likely next target for you is 800 and change. That's the most likely. And then if we keep going, it's the 600 and change in 420.
Yeah, there definitely will be buyers at that 885-ish level, because that was where Ethereum bounced from 885 back to 2000. So when you're trading, and basically charts are representations of human emotion, you're going to get a lot of people that are like, oh man, I remember when it bounced from 885 to 2000. I'm getting a chance. I missed it last time. I'm getting a chance to rebuy. So they're going to be buyers there. So you expect some sort of support, or at least a small bounce there. Eventually, if there's enough sellers, it will break that level. And then the next spot would be right around $650 on the chart. So Bitcoin here, and here's your ETH. And again, what's fascinating about this chart is you can see there's a lot of similarities. So you can see when you were at your highs over here and over here, basically double top here. ETH went a little bit higher, obviously, percentage-wise. You know, for me, I look at the relative